you. I want to attend it with your future husband.
Amen, amen.
And your future brother-in-laws. Amen.
No pressure. No pressure.
And no pressure. You got three and a half more years approximately? 3.5 more years, right? So I'm going to be the Messiah, and I think I have some right to it because the Daf Yomi was instituted 103 years ago approximately. Where? In Vienna. So that's why I'm going to be starting. So the Gemara is a very interesting, the Gemara of Nazir is a very concentrated Gemara. It goes all about Nazir, and at the end it starts with Tum and Tahare. Very tough. I mean, it's not really things that we are so familiar with nowadays, even though there have been Nazirites here and there, and I think there still are. I heard that the guy who gives the 8-minute daf, he invited a Nazir to speak on YouTube, and people have said that they're now waiting for him to invite us. Anyway, and just at the very end, the Gemara veers into something very interesting. First, the Mishnah starts talking about Shmuel HaNovi. If Samuel, the Novi, if he was a Nazirite or not, there's a machloekes about it. And then the Gemara continues with a seemingly unrelated topic and says, Omele Rav Lechia Brei, Chatoy Fabrich. Rav Chia said to his son, right? That's very important for you, Jose. Say, go and make the broches. Meaning, when you come to shul and they ask you to be the Baal Tefillah, don't say no today. You should go immediately and do it, because it's a good thing. And so Rav Huna said also to Rabbi Hiss, go and make the broches. That means to say that the person who makes the broches, he has the higher rank. Higher rank as opposed to the guy who says the Omen. The Otanya, we have learned, Rabbi Yosef says, that somebody who answers Amen on the bracha, he's bigger than the guy who made the bracha. The Omalei Rav Neurai, Hashomayim, I'm swearing to you, Kachu, that is how it is. That's really that the Mevorech, that the guy who says Omen, he's more important than the guy who says, or he has more of an importance than the guy who makes the brochus. How is it possible? Teda, and you should know why is that? That when you go into war, when Russia goes into the war, what do? First they send the simple soldiers into the battle, and then they send the Wagner group to finish it off. Then they send the Giborim, the strong ones. And that's the same thing. First the Mevorch makes the broch, and then the strong one, the Omen, he sort of like wins the war. So the Gemara says, okay, how do we reconcile? Tonight, it's a machloikis, it's a dispute. The Tanya, echot ha-mevorch ve'echot ha-omen ve'mashmet, it's the same. The guy who makes the brocha gets a big reward, and the guy who says Omen gets a big reward. Elo, shebemaharin lemevorich tchila. The guy who makes the brocha, he's the one who gets the check first, the guy who makes the brochas. So therefore, when you come to shul and Jose asks you, you should say, yes, I'll go immediately. Don't make him run around, okay? And so the question is, what does this have to do with the Mishnah? The Mishnah speaks about Shmuel being a Nazirite, and the Gemara here speaks about the brochas. Doesn't make sense. So the simple explanation is that the two people in the Mishnah arguing about it are the same two people who are arguing about here. But I want to finish with the thought that the Chasam Sofer says. The Chasam Sofer says that he saw in the Chacham Tzvi about 350 years ago, a little more than 350 years ago. The Chacham Tzvi, who was a rabbi in Amsterdam and I think in other places also, so he says that he was once at the big Suda, and there were many people there. There was also a Nazirite who came from Hebron to collect money. You know, they even had it 350 years ago. Don't think it's a new invention. Even 350 years ago, they came and said, Bob, write me a check. I need it for the yeshiva, for school in Hebron, right? So they came, and he said, and there was this Nazirite, and they wanted to give him to bench. So he said, I'm sorry, I can't, because I can't hold a cup of wine, because a Nazirite is not allowed to hold a cup of wine. So they said, you know what, you'll bench, and the guy next to you is going to hold a cup of wine. So that's what they did. And then the Chacham Tzvi writes, after benching, I told all the Talmidei Chacham, all the Rabbonim that were there, I'm sorry, this is no good. You can't do that because the Nazirite, at the end of the day, he cannot drink the wine. So it can't be that the guy who drinks, the guy who holds the wine is Yoitze. So the answer was, he said, well, he goes according to this one opinion in the Gemara that says that the Omen, saying the Omen is greater even than the one who says the Brocha, and that is why it is reconciled. It goes a little bit long, but I don't want to lengthen it. And then the very last sentence of the Gemara, our Rabbi has mentioned this also already, and it's a well-known fact, when they say that, how do we know that our Rabbonim, that our wise sages had a sense of humor? Because it ends off like that. The wise man, they increase peace in this world. There's the humor. That all your sons are learned. So the Gemara says, and it really means you should really read it that it's not your sons, but the people who build it. And I'm just to say, Raphael is going to say the Hadran, Marvin will say the Kaddish, Erwin is going to start off Soite, and then Larry will say Dvar Teure. Hanu noch akusim einu Naziris, Hanu noch akusim einu Naziris, Hanu noch akusim einu Naziris, Slike lo Mesechtes Node, Slike lo Mesechtes Node, Slike lo Mesechtes Node. Raphael, Hadran. You have it? No. Okay. You want to ask for one or this one? Okay. No.
Shkoyach.
Let me while I'm looking for it. Where's the? Okay, while we're getting it, just to add a perspective here, we're talking about the importance of kosel bracha. If somebody says the bracha first, and so on. Keep in mind, Masechet Brachot, there is a verse that actually says that three things actually shorten the life of a person. One is if he's being called for an aliyah and he refuses. Another one, if he hands her a kosel bracha and he turns it down. And the third thing is mitnaheg b'rabanut. It actually is exerting himself with authority. I mean, this is talked about. Yosef was one of the issues that shortened his wife from 100 life to 120 to 110 years. Just a little perspective on this importance of the last Mishnah that's coming there. So, Jose, if somebody refuses you, I'll give you the exact place in Masechet Brachos, and you go to them and you say, look.
An aliyah, nobody refuses. Going to David, I have a problem.
Adran Allah Masechet Makor, Adran Allah Da'at Masechet Nazir. לא שם מסכת מזהיר ולא שם מנם, לא בר מעדן, לא בר מעדתה. יהיה צום עליך נדבר שתהיה צורה אבא למזהיר ותהיה מן העולם הבא. חליל בבא בעמי בבא בנכון, בבא אחיה בבא אבא מעריב בבא תלבא בבא סוחה בבא דאו בבא. הערב נערב ותודה ותגביר מחבי ישראל אנחנו וצאצאינו מחבי ישראל כולנו ונשפר לתורך לשמה. ובאת לכם מצוקך הגדולה יהיה לי מתאמן מצוקך למען לא אלוש ואז תשכחתי בדרך וגם חייתני ברוך אתה ענה לדרכך אמן 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 סלע והד מודים אנחנו בניך המיים ובנתן שנתן ולדבר המדרש לא צריך לכם בשתי קרנות שאנו משכבים והם משכבים אנו משכבים דברי תורה הם משכבים דברים בטלים אנו עמלים והם עמלים אנו עמלים מקבלים שכר הם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר אנו רצים והם רצים אנו רצים לחיי העולם הבא הם רצים לבי השחר שנאמר ואתה אלוהים תורידם לבי השחר עד שדמים בבהמה לא יחצו בהם ואני אפתח בה יהי רצון פניך עדיין לקשר סרטן לסיים מסכת נזיר כן, אז נתחיל מסכתות וספרים אחרים ולזיימם ללמוד, ללמד, לשבור, לעשות, כי הם קוראים לתמוכך באהבה תוזכו כל התנים האחוריים, כמזה חמים מהגדולי וזרי לא לחוש ברמתים וזרי וזרע זרי עד עולם ותיגן באיש ויבחת למלא אותך ושבת תשמור עליך וקצוב לבשריך כי בי הוא ימיך וסביב לך שנות חיים אורך ימים בימנה בשמאלה עושר וכבוד ענה עוז לעמו ייתן ענה וכמו בשלום
Mazel tov, Shkoyach.
Amen. started the Yerushalayim Mission.
Amen. Erwin, go for it.
Is in every shiur.
Oh, okay. At least she was alive is getting it.
Okay. Erwin is going to now start a new Masechta.
Mazel tov.
This Gemara in Sota, it starts Hamekane leisha, a person who is mekane his wife. Now, what does it mean mekane? So the Gemara gives an analysis. Kina could be jealousy. Kina could be like a hatred, and the pashtus is that it's seen as a warning based on some kind of a jealousy or concern that a husband has that his wife is going with some other guy. I'll just point out interesting anyways. The Gemara has a machlokes later on. Here we're going to see in the Mishnah. There's an opinion. Both opinions say that the kina, meaning the warning, has to be done with two witnesses. That's Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Shua is going to agree in the Mishnah. But then there's a second part, which is called stira. Stira is locking in. You know, when if a woman her husband warns her, don't be alone with, Jonathan. Sorry.
Jack. It's Jack.
Jack. That's what it means here. Okay, Jack. Okay. Whatever. All right. And we have humor here too today. All right. Anyways, so all right. Let's change our name. Erwin. Okay. Erwin. You're discharged. And for whatever reason, you want to be down the kapslut, goes into a room along with her when her husband warned her not to. She's violating her husband's desire. Maybe a very good reason for it. Maybe it was an emergency, a health situation, whatever. Point is, some guys, witnesses saw it. They wrote it down. They were there for 5 minutes. You have two witnesses. How many witnesses do you need to see that you went along with some guy in a private area? Two witnesses. So machlokes. One Rabbi Shua says two. Rabbi Eliezer says one. That's the stira, the second part. And if that happens, then he can already take her, and in fact he can't be any more intimate with her, and if she's a Bas Yisrael and her husband is a Kohen, she can't eat true anymore, until, if and when, she agrees to go to the Beis HaMikdash and to drink the Mei Sota, which is, the Rabbi talked about it, a korban based on barley, it's animalistic, the Rabbi talked about it, the behavior. And her clothing is pulled. She's told, basically they really want to get her to admit, so that they don't have to mix Hashem's name that goes into it and dissolve it and have a drink. It's a very sad situation, and they curse her conditionally, and nobody wants that to happen. Better if it's true, let her admit it's true. That's it. Get divorced. No ksuva. Okay, Hashem will bless her with more money. Life goes on. Hashem wants peace. We talk about peace in the world, right? We just finished the Gemara. The Talmid Chacham built peace. This is based on peace. You want to have peace. So the guy has a problem. He has a jealousy issue. Whether it's a ruach tar or ruach tuma, the Gemara analyzes it. The point is, nobody wants these things, but it happens. Sometimes people. But then the rabbis want to promote peace. Peace is sometimes, if it really happened, better just get divorced and move on. Say do tshuva and move on. They don't want this stuff. But sometimes you got to use force to get peace. Peace through force, right? We've heard that. Trump. Okay. Sorry. So anyways, so the Gemara says, if you hold that kinui,
is only with one witness, so really it's private. Even the husband can do it. I want you to say what's on so. So then, if a husband can do that, so what's going to happen? This is interesting. It's a little more Gemara, but the woman's going to go to the street, to the shul or whatever, and the husband, let's say, warned her, 3 guys, don't hang out with them, be careful. So she's like walking this way. They want to have kiddush, so they want to get up and move, So what's wrong with this lady? She's aloof or something, arrogant. They don't know the husband warned her because he did it privately. So if you hold the husband can give a warning himself with no witnesses, people are going to be mechanisms, they're going to have hatred to her and say, stuck up lady, Now, if you hold that a mechanic can be with 2 witnesses, has to be with 2 witnesses, then everybody knows that he's the guy who's creating the problem. So no one's going to hate her. They're just that she's going to get angry at her husband. It's like, you embarrassed me, you don't trust me, you in front of witnesses, you tell me I can't be with this and this and that, what's wrong with you? So he creates kino, he hates you within her. All right, anyways, back to the Mishnah. So a mekane, a husband who warns a wife, leishto, Rabbi Eliezer says, mekane lo al pishnayim. So 2 witnesses during the time of warning. Later in the Gemara, there's a Rabbi Eliezer, another version that says only 1 witness. So you get into that discussion. Umashke al pi edechad. Mashke means you give her to drink. Give her to drink is another way of saying how many witnesses do you need to see that she's locked up in the room with the guy that her husband prohibited. Because what's it called mashke? Because by seeing that she's locked up in there, now she has to go to drink if she wants to stay married to a guy. So that's what causes the drinking. Or al pi et atzmo. So Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah holds either he can testify, sign an affidavit, I saw her go alone in the hotel with so and so, or you can have 1 witness. Anybody here? You saw her by the Hilton? All right, thank you. Give me a statement. I'll give it to the base. Then that's it. Okay. Rabbi Yeshua says, Mekane lo al pishnayim. The warning, again, he agrees with Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah. The warning has to be done with 2 witnesses. Umashke al pishnayim. And you need to have 2 witnesses by the hotel also. That means what causes her to have to drink. So he disagrees with Rabbi Eliezer. He says 2 witnesses by the hotel, not 1. Kate said, Mekane lo. How does he warn his wife? Omer lo bifnei shnayim. If he says in front of 2 people, Al tedaber im ish ploni. Don't speak to this guy, so and so. V'dibro imo, and she speaks to him. Adayin hu muteres lebesa. That's not called warning. First, the Gemara is telling you what's a warning. It's not this. It's not this. It's not if he says don't talk to him and she talks to him. That's not a problem. You can talk to whoever you want to talk to. Okay. Al tedaber im ploni. V'dibro imo, she speaks to him. Adayin hu muteres lebesa. She can still be with her husband. The mutaris lechel b'truma, and if she's a bas Yisrael and her husband's a Kohen, she can still go ahead and eat truma. Now the Rambam adds that if he warns her not to go in the room along with her, then nichnas ima, and she goes into the room alone, the Beis HaSeiter privately v'shoso imo kedei tuma, and there's enough time there that it could have done the naveira. Asur lebeisa, then at that point she's forbidden to go back to her husband to live with him. Intimately, and if she's the bas Yisrael, she can no longer eat truma. And if her husband dies, that means, and if her husband died without having any children, so then her husband's brothers, whoever it is in the order, they have to do chalitza with her, and none of them are allowed to have yibum. That's it.
Larry. My name is Irvin too.
Okay, you know what?
When Itzik and I started talking about this a couple months ago, we thought where to have it and how many people would be part of this. Looking around, it's very impressive. I think it was the right decision, Rabbi. Thank you for letting us.
Thank you.
So this morning we celebrate the conclusion of Talmud Nazir, a section of Talmud that delves into laws and practice of the Nazirite vow. Again, as the Rabbi mentioned earlier, not very practical, or not very common today. The tractate, however, which may not be as well known as others, still contains valuable insights into Jewish law, ethics, spiritual growth that are relevant to our life today as Jews and as members of society. Through the study of Tractate Nazir, we have gained a deeper understanding of the importance of personal responsibility, commitment, and self-restraint. We have learned about the value of effort, determination in fulfilling obligations, and fulfilling our obligations, and the importance of transparency and accountability in our relationships with others. Rashi offers an editorial insight into Tractate Nazir. Rashi explains that the Nazirite vow is voluntary, and therefore requires a strong internal commitment to maintain its observance. Rashi also notes that the Nazir is also considered holy during the period of abstention, and that this holiness comes from their willingness to set aside their own desires in order to better serve Hashem. The Rambam offers a different perspective. The Rambam notes that the Nazirite vow was not intended to be a permanent state of being, but rather a temporary period of spiritual growth and reflection. The Rambam emphasizes that the importance of moderation and balance in our spiritual lives reminds us that excessive asceticism can lead to physical and emotional harm. One of the most fascinating aspects of Tractate Nazir is the emphasis on individual choice and personal responsibility. The Nazirite vow is not something that's imposed on a person by others, rather it is a voluntary act of dedication to Hashem. The Nazir chooses to abstain from wine, to grow their hair, and to refrain from contact with the dead. This voluntary act of self-restraint reminds us that we have the power to make our own choices and to shape our own destiny. Moreover, the concept of Nazir has broader implications beyond the specific laws and practices of the vow. It serves as a model for how we can approach our spiritual growth and development. Like a Nazir, we too can choose to set aside certain desires and impulses in order to serve a higher purpose. Whether it be through prayer, study, or acts of kindness, we can make conscious decisions to prioritize our spiritual well-being and to align our actions with our values. In a world that often seems chaotic and unpredictable, the teachings of Tractate Nazir offers a sense of clarity and purpose. It reminds us that we have power to make positive changes in our lives and the world around us. As we conclude the study of this tractate, let us take the lessons to heart and strive to live in the highest potential and to live to our highest potential as individuals and as a community. May we continue to learn from the lessons of Tractate Nazir, and may the study of Torah continue to inspire us to be better, more compassionate, and more responsible members of the community and the world.
Amen.
Now, on a personal note, I'd have to say, because I've gone to yeshiva my entire life, and I think how many times those of us who have gone to yeshiva, we start, one parak, and we get about, halfway through by the time we get to the end of the year. It's going on, go off on tangents, and I'd like to thank, I guess, again, Rabbi Horowitz, because I think the community now, is meaningful for me for another milestone, because I think the reputation I have in my house is get it started, Larry, and that might not only be with tasks to get things done in the house. If a kid needs to start an essay, I sit down, I start the essay, and I'm known not to finish them and leave them off on everybody to finish. So I'd like to thank Rabbi Horowitz because this is actually the first time I've actually completed an entire. I said I started a couple of years ago, but I'm saying the first time I've had a Siyum for finishing an entire tractate, and I think all of you are now indelibly impressed on me as somebody who's participated in this milestone in my life.
The next one is in 7 weeks exactly.
I said entitled